Right, we're back at it with another tier list. This time I've collected some of the point and click games that I've played and I'm going to rank them. We've got amazing, so that's like the best of the best. Great, which means it's a game that I love. Okay means, yeah, you know, it's okay. I had a good time playing it, but it's not up there with my favorites. Not okay means that it's sort of maybe got its merits, but just for whatever reason isn't my kind of thing. It didn't quite sit well with me. And then bin it is what we're saving for games that I genuinely found to be bad, which I would imagine would be quite rare, but that's what we're dealing with. So we're going to be going through all of the classic point and click games that you would expect, your Monkey Island, your Broken Swords, but also all of the other ones that I've played that you might not have heard of, including some more recent games like Beyond the Edge of Owlguard and Dreams in the Witch House. So let's start off with one of the all-time classics, Grim Fandango. It is one of the best games, I think, the genre's produced, certainly one of Tim Schafer's finest, but it does have its problems. Grim Fandango is very difficult. The original version was hard to walk around and sort of enjoy. The remaster definitely handled some of those issues, took them away, so it's much more of a pleasant experience. And I certainly love the world, the characters, the voice acting, the design. Everything about Grim Fandango does work on paper, apart from its puzzles design, which do err on the side of being just ridiculously hard and not very well sort of laid out for a casual point and click fan. This is sort of the epitome of a difficult point and click game, if you ask me. Of course, I still enjoyed myself, but I couldn't get through this without a walkthrough. There was many points when I got stuck, and you know, for everything good I can say about Grim Fandango, I can't put it up there in amazing because it doesn't quite all come together, and I think that's a lot to do with the technology at the time, which is obviously forcing dev teams to go 3D, which didn't really suit the genre very much. But you know, let's go back to something even more classic, the original Monkey Island game, which of course has to go in amazing because this is the pinnacle of point and clicks. This is what a point and click should look like. You know, that classic pixel art, of course, just art at the time, but that verb interface, you know, the witty dialogue, not being able to die, everything that the Secret of Monkey Island did for point and clicks, you know, it just deserves to be at the top. It's amazing. Is it the best in the series? I don't know, but it's certainly a legendary game that doesn't deserve to be anywhere other than amazing. And you know what, we're going to jump straight back in with another amazing game, Broken Sword, which I think I'll put ahead of Monkey Island, just because I think Broken Sword came out a little bit later. Revolution Software had learnt a lot from what LucasArts were doing, from what Sierra were doing, and some of the other players in the point and click space, and they just elevated everything in a way that was was absolutely beautiful. I mean, the design of that game, this is the Shadow of the Templars, so the first one, the voice acting, Ralph Saxon as George is as iconic as Dominic in Guybrush in Monkey Island. And you know, this whole more serious tone, this intrigue, it's not to say it's not without its humor, but this isn't a comedy game, whereas Monkey Island is. You know, you've got real history here, and you get to learn about the Knights Templar, and the history of that. And you know, you're just this normal bloke from America who gets caught up in this wild conspiracy, who just happens to have an unlimited bank account so you can travel the world and prevent the Templars from destroying everything. It is a marvel. The animations, the dialogue, the you know, sort of will they won't they love story between George and Nico that returns every installment. I just find it infinitely replayable, and I cannot wait for our new remaster, the reforged Broken Sword, to come out later this year. Now let's go back to possibly, you know, Ron Gilbert's most Ron Gilberty game, Thimbleweed Park. I'm going to put it in okay because it is a good game that I do enjoy, but it sort of does highlight some of the issues with the Ronicisms that happen in his kind of point and click game. I'm not saying that they're bad, because obviously Monkey Island 1 and 2 were incredible, but by the time he did Thimbleweed Park, which was his attempt to make a Ron Gilbert point and click pixel art game, it's the only one he's ever done, because Maniac Mansion and Monkey Island don't count. That was just the art at the time. This was his attempt to do a proper old school pixel art game, and you know, it's incredible. You get to play as 5 different characters, which is a lot of fun, but some of the puzzles are obtuse, and the ending is this whole meta ending about everyone being in a video game was just a little bit disappointing. It's not the side of his storytelling that I enjoy, so it falls apart a little bit in the ending for me, but everything else before that, you know, is very good. The whole mystery that you're trying to solve, figuring out the puzzles between the 5 different characters, also very cool, very interesting. So I've got a lot of time for Thimbleweed Park, but I do find it to be one of my least favourite, if not my least favourite, Ron Gilbert games. So for me, it's a hard okay for that one. Now, Legend of Kyrandia. This is the first one in the Kyrandia series, and for me it's a not okay, just because I think I didn't play this one until quite recently, so I didn't play it at the time it came out, so I don't think I don't have the appreciation that you need for these sort of games. Like I keep coming back to Monkey Island, but I played that as a child, so I have a deep nostalgic love for that game, whereas Kyrandia I don't, which maybe I need to be able to enjoy it now, because it's just very limiting. I find that the room sizes were always very small. There wasn't a whole lot to actually do in each room. You were walking back and forth quite a lot, quite slowly. You couldn't hold many inventory items, which was needlessly restrictive for a point and click game, at least the way I play them. So for me, you know, I can't actually comment on it being a bad game, which is why it's only a not okay, because you know, it's got all the hallmarks of being a good point and click game, but it just doesn't come together for me personally when I'm playing it. I just want a little bit more, a little bit quicker, I think, than what you're given with The Legend of Kyrandia. Now, this is the next one. Gods Will Be Watching is, I'm going to put it in great, but this comes with stipulation, because this game is really difficult. It's sort of a point and click pixel art game where you're sort of given these set pieces of these really horrible situations to be in, where you've got to be like quick to move your character around. You've got to solve puzzles in a certain order before people come in and kill you. You've got to choose the right dialogue options or you'll be killed. You know, you die a lot in this game. That's the whole point of it. It's really supposed to be very difficult, which is at the same time very fun and very frustrating, but it's got like 17 different difficulties, so you can, you know, the way this game is supposed to be, it's supposed to be really hard to get through every single level, but you can adjust the difficulty all the way down to where it's sort of an appropriate challenge for you, so you can still progress through the game if you need to, without being able to get like the exact right timings, or there's a little bit more leeway with the interactions with the characters. Very worth playing, but it will kick your ass, and I mean that. If you like point and clicks and you want a real challenge, Gods Will Be Watching is the one to melt your brain to. Okay, so let's move on to Cleo, which is, I think, another great game. I'm going to put it above Grim Fandango as well. Actually, I'm going to put that right at the top. Right, so Cleo is a pirate adventure game. You don't get enough of them in point and click, but it's sort of top-down Zelda-y, cartoony design, but actually is a point and click. It's, I think, quite an incredible feat what the developer did with this, because he came into a genre but wanted to do it a little bit differently, a little bit fresh, which I think he definitely achieved. It's a fun story to see unravel. I didn't really enjoy the So I'm really looking forward to that one. I think Cleo, if
You
you've
wanna
not played
hear a
it,
story?
I think it's pretty
Hey.
cheap. It'll only set you back a few quid.
First,
a
let
few
me
dollars,
ask you something.
particularly if it's on sale.
What is the
But
most
it's something that you will just really enjoy.
about
Cleo
a story?
herself is a really fun character, and the whole cast is actually really fun to mess around with. Now we're gonna throw it back to the difficult era of point-and-click games, where LucasArts had basically given up on adventure gaming. Sierra, I think, had been sold a couple of times now, and no one knew what to do with the IPs. But there were a couple of companies that still tried to make point-and-clicks, even in the 3D sort of landscape, trying to fix the problems that killed off adventure gaming at that point. And Seville's one of them. It's a fantastic story. I don't know if the gameplay's that good, but it's about a horrible dictator who is usurped by his advisor, and now he's got to like break out of prison and rise up against the usurper so that he can save his citizenship from someone that's worse than him, but he himself is an awful dictator who's horrible to people. It's just a really fun game that if you get the chance to play, I would absolutely recommend giving that a go. Now let's move on to The Longest Journey, which I'm going to put in not okay, and I feel like this is going to be very controversial because The Longest Journey is quite an incredible game. It's like I think probably possibly the biggest point and click game there's ever been. There's so many screens, characters, dialogue, but I can't get through it for the life of me. It's too obtuse. There's so much going on, and it does lead you in the directions that you need to go, but it's quite hard to understand sometimes. So I get stuck very often, and then I end up not progressing because it's also another one that sort of suffers from a pacing problem. Characters walk too slowly. All these scenes are really big. It really slows things down a little bit. But it is an enjoyable game. I can't get into it. I've never finished it, so I've never played Dreamfall, but I did play Dreamfall Chapters, which was incredible, which made me want to play The Longest Journey again, but I just can't lose myself in it for the reasons that I've said. So for me it's a not okay, but I'm not actually bashing on the game. It's certainly not a bin it. It's just not one that works for me. And now, but we'll take it up to one of my favourite new point and click games, Dreams in the Witch House. Absolutely incredible. It's a point and click game. It's got some RPG elements. It's based on the H.P. Lovecraft story Dreams in the Witch House, which is the one with the witch, the angles in the boarding house, and there's a witch that comes through, and there's a little rat face man, a man-faced rat, and it's really fun. So you're given about 2 weeks basically to play this game in game, obviously, and you've got to solve the mystery of what's happening in the house, because Walter starts to have weird dreams and sees different parts of the universe, and he can do that in multiple different ways: by studying, by investigating mysteries around town, but there's this RPG elements as well, so he starts to go crazy if you don't keep his sanity up, but he gets hungry as well, so you've got to make sure he's fed, and you've got to make money each day, and there's only a few ways you can do that, and each action you do takes away hours from your day. So if you want to study, then that's going to take an hour or 2 hours, which means that you then can't do the odd jobs to earn some money. So you've got to be weighing up all your choices and eventually progress through this game in lots of different ways, while trying to eventually beat the sort of the witch, Kezia, I think her name is, and some of the other demons that are trying to get Walter. So Dreams in the Witch House is absolutely fantastic. I would go and buy it right now, honestly. Kathy Rain next, I think is a great game. I think this is one of the ones that sort of came out as people were sort of coming back into point and click games, and so it sort of stands out as one of the really good ones, up there with the ones that Dave Gilbert and Wadjet Eye came out with. You play a detective, a college student turned detective who's trying to solve a mystery related to her grandfather when she goes back and visits. He dies, so she goes to his funeral, and then she gets involved in this whole mystery, which she has to solve. You know, it's really, really good point and click game. Lots of beautiful designs, and she rides a motorbike, so much like our Full Throttle friends. So Cathy Rain, very, very good. There's two versions. There's the normal version and the director's cut. I've only played the director's cut, which I assume means more content. But yeah, very, very worth playing. And now we're going to move on to Broken Age, which to me is okay. It's not. I'm going to put it above Thimbleweed Park. I think it's the top end of okay. Broken Age, you know, it's Tim Schafer's return to point and clicks that he raised millions of pounds on Kickstarter for. One of the first really successful Kickstarters, and by all rights, it's a very good game, but it was split into 2 chapters and released at different times, and it didn't. Tim Schafer's had a good history in point and click games, but this one is his weakest one, I would say. Full Throttle, Day of the Tentacle, and the Monkey Island games, and Grim Fandango, all very, very good. Broken Age is, while technically superior in every way, you know, the design, the puzzle designs, everything is really good. It just doesn't hold up as like a classic in the way his other games do. So this one, I think, is his weakest point and click game, but still, by all rights, a very good point and click game. And let's move on to A Vampire Story. This was the first game that Bill Tiller made after he left LucasArts, but it very much feels like design-wise anyway, feels like a spiritual sequel to The Curse of Monkey Island, at least in a way that that LucasArts game should have evolved, rather than going down the 3D route that Escape from Monkey Island and Grim Fandango went down, which essentially killed off the company's interest in adventure games. A Vampire Story features those gorgeous 2D backgrounds that Bill Tiller became so famous for on The Curse of Monkey Island, but features a 3D protagonist, so there's more options with the animations and what they're doing, and it just feels like a natural evolution that he doesn't get enough praise for, really. I think this guy really did figure out where point and click should go next, but unfortunately it came out too late, and interest in the genre had waned too much, so he was never able to get a sequel off the ground. I believe he might still be working on it. I've seen him commenting that he is still trying to get A Vampire Story 2 done, but it's a funding issue at the moment. Now, I put it in great because of those reasons. The design, the art, I'd like the voice acting, everything, very, very good, and it holds a very important place in my heart. But the puzzle design is a bit crap. There's lots to do, lots to interact with, and you're often not given enough hints to really know what you're supposed to be doing next. There's a lot of trial and error involved in A Vampire Story. So yeah, it can't go in amazing, but I think it's just everything else it got so right elevates it from okay to great for me. And okay, so let's move on to Full Throttle, which I think is going to have to go in okay as well, and I'll tell you for why, because that's what the nature of this video is. Full Throttle is an incredible game with a great tight story, with incredible voice acting. You know, Roy Conrad is the voice of Ben Grime, and Mark Hamill features in as Ripburger, the villain. It's got so many good things going for it. It looks great. The introduction of the coin interface instead of the verbs, very, very cool. But it's a short game, and it has a lot of animations into it. And in fact, internally at LucasArts, they felt that this played more like an interactive movie than it did a point and click game, and I think that's what sort of stops this from getting to the same heights as the other games that are above it in this list. It's too short, and It definitely leaves you wanting more, which we obviously never got because the 2 sequels that were put into development were binned, even though one of them was almost complete. Big shame. It's not ever set foot back into that world, but it is a really tightly told story that's really fun to play through, especially the remastered version. I mean, the work that Double Fine did on those remasters really made these games stand out. Now, okay, so here's another new one, Beyond the Edge of Owlguard. I'm going to have to put that in okay, because now Beyond the Edge of Owlguard, and you'll hear this a lot from me really, is a beautiful pixel art game with some incredible animations. Backgrounds are phenomenal. Some of the translation on the dialogue not brilliant, and that lets it down a little bit, but where it really falls apart for me is its puzzle design, which you might get the idea that I don't like. I don't like moon logic or overtly hard puzzles. I like to at least be able to feel like I'm progressing and not just hitting my head against a wall. And with Beyond the Edge of Owlguard, unfortunately, I felt like I was hitting my head against a wall all the time. I could not progress through that game without a walkthrough, which made me really sad because it's otherwise a very, very smart game. With some great set pieces and background designs, and a pretty good flow. The twist of the story is pretty good as well, but it's just that difficult puzzle design holds it back for me. So unfortunately for Owlguard, it's just okay. Now we've got the Blackwell Legacy. I'm going to put that in just okay as well. I'm right at the bottom. I don't really get what everyone's fascination with the Blackwell series is. Now, the Legacy, the first one, very short. It's a very short game. And so, you know, it goes on to have, I think, 3 or 4 sequels. And it's good. It's fine. It definitely shows off how talented Dave Gilbert is, and you know, once he gets down to Unavowed, just like, this guy is absolutely incredible. Tells a really good story. I've not played the later Blackwell games yet, so I'm basing it just off of Legacy, which just doesn't drive it home for me. I don't know. It's moody. I don't know if the 2 main characters are that likable at this point, but it's well worth playing, and it will set you back a couple of dollars and only a couple of hours. So yeah, well worth picking up. Now, Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis, I have said a couple of times, is my favourite point and click of all time. I'm not sure if I'm ready to change my mind on that. I absolutely love the fact that it's telling the same story, but you've got three completely different ways of playing it. You know, the way of the fist, team, and solo, all meaning that you approach the puzzles in a different order. The world's different, even though you are retreading the same areas. All the puzzles are all different, so you essentially get 3 games in one, which I absolutely love. And the Fate of Atlantis is a great story. It really did feel like an Indiana Jones story. I know people aren't too happy with the King of the Crystal Skulls or the newest film, which I can't remember the name of. The Fate of Atlantis really does feel like it should be that 4th Indiana Jones film, because it's absolutely incredible. When you get to Atlantis and you see all of the designs of the sunken city, yeah, absolutely incredible. I could talk about Fate of Atlantis forever, but I won't. We'll try and wrap this up. Now then, we've got Whateverland, which is another new one. I think this was actually sent to me, which was very kind, by the developers. I think I live streamed it, and I had a great time with this game. It's hand drawn, and it's you know, point and click puzzles, dialogue, and you're basically in this sort of weird not afterlife, but you've been like taken by a weird genie woman or something, and placed in like a suspended reality that's within her, and you've got to try and leave, and you've got to help this little floaty man leave. But as you play the game, you sort of realize why people have been put here and the reasons you've been put here, and whether you actually deserve to go back out into the real world. And there's a lot of philosophical thinking behind it, and I had a great time playing that with the few people that joined the live stream. So fond memories with that one. I don't know if it deserves to go in great, or maybe it should be in okay, but at the bottom of great, I feel good about that. Okay, so now let's do the 4th broken sword. No, we've not done the other ones, but I just popped a bunch of games in one, and we'll do another episode later on we'll put the rest of it in. Broken Sword, the Angel of Death. Possibly could be a Binet, but I don't think I could commit to that. So it's going in not okay, because the Broken Sword, the Angel of Death, is, while it's a marked improvement over the Sleeping Dragon, which was also 3D, it still suffers from all those obvious issues that 3D adventures had, because the concept didn't work. Broken Sword, I think, approached it differently to Sierra and LucasArts, but it still just didn't work in execution. You know, when you want a point and click game, you want a point and click game, and this one was trying to be a bit more actiony. I didn't like that Nico got a bit sidelined for this new girl. It felt strange that there was now a second love interest when Nico's really the only woman for George. But it's not a love story, so that doesn't really matter. It's another mystery, a conspiracy. And I never actually finished it. I got right to the end, and I got stuck in like one of the final rooms. I really need to jump back in and actually tick this one off fully. I put it in not okay. I think I'm probably being not very generous with that, and I'm trying to think back to the last time I played it, which was a long time ago, and just sort of getting stuck and not really enjoying the 3D environment. So it's going to go in not okay for now. And that brings us to our last one. I'm sure you've all been waiting for this one. The Curse of Monkey Island. And I'm going to put it above The Secret of Monkey Island right now, because I've been working on a big deep dive into the Curse of Monkey Island video, so it's very fresh in my mind. So I might be being a bit biased there. Just an incredible feat of development and programming. It elevated everything that had come before it in LucasArts from a design perspective. You know, and no, not everyone might think that the cartoony design for Guybrush is that great, but I think it's iconic. It sticks in your mind. I think the design for LeChuck in this one, Demon Pirate LeChuck, is my favourite iteration of LeChuck. These beautiful backgrounds by Bill Tiller are just insane. Your voice acting, everything worked so well with the Curse of Monkey Island, but it didn't reinvent the wheel. It very much followed the same sort of formulaic design as The Secret of Monkey Island and LeChuck's Revenge, where you go to a place, you get a few non-linear quests to do that you can sort of do in an order that makes sense to you, as you explore the world and find out little bits about the solutions to the puzzles. But it's a really fun story that manages to answer the question, what happened at the end of LeChuck's Revenge, without needing to rely on the ending either. Very much reinforces itself as a pirate video game rather than we're in a theme park video game, and is just one of the finest that LucasArts ever put out. And that's it for the tier list today. We've had no Binnets. I'm pretty stacked on amazing and great, but I'm sure there'll be lots to join in eventually. Looking forward to making more of these. Thank you for joining, and if you play any of these, let me know what you think in the comments below. Please like the video and subscribe. It helps to push things out to YouTube. I have also started a Ko-fi page where you can donate if you can afford to and feel the urge to, but absolutely no pressure to do so. I will see you all in the next video. Thank you very much for checking it out.